Hi, Bankable Beauties. This is Jessica Joy Reveles. I'm back here with Women Who Work TV live in Hollywood with my next 5 tips for blogging success, how to write a blog post that sings and sells. So I gave you my first 5 tips. I'm going to do a recap for those of you that might have missed those first 10 tips or wanted to take some more notes. So number 1, editorial calendar. You've got to get your ideas down on paper, or as I use, a Google Doc. And it can be color-coded. You can map out your social media as well as your editorial, your blog posts. And then what I like to do is at least throw out an idea for what you would write as the catchy, snappy headline. And then know that it will be subject to change depending again on what you end up writing, where you draw inspiration, and even trends and things that are going on when you post that actual blog post. And then what I also like to do is create a notes section in my editorial calendar where for every blog post, I also have resources that I've developed, and these are links of articles or other organizations or resources where I can draw inspiration and find ideas on whatever that topic is, and then that way I can link back in my blog post to some of those articles, whether it's with the Huffington Post, or I mentioned Mind Body Green, if it's fashion, WWD. So resources are really good also to add in the notes of your editorial calendar. 2, be authentic, be yourself, find your personality in your voice, and find a way to communicate that really genuinely, excitedly, and whether it's using colloquialisms or just casual slang or a more polished tone, all of those things are really important in helping you stand out, and readers are drawn to your voice. So tip number 3, use this formula. Intro, about 4 to 6 lines of an intro, something catchy with a hook that draws people in and also tells the reader exactly what they're going to be getting in that post. And then your 3 or 6 or 10 tips or points or how-tos, whatever those might be, usually 3 different subheads are a really good way to organize information. So if you can think in 3s, that's usually good because people tend to remember better 3 bullet points. Even when you're giving a speech or a keynote or something like that, it's usually you really usually want to stick to 3 points, and you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. And that's kind of how blog posts work too. And so when you have that outro, that conclusion, you're going to of course, provide that recap in about 3 to 4 lines, and then you ease into the CTA or the call to action where you're actually enticing them to purchase from you, subscribe, read more, learn more, connect with you, whatever that might look like. Okay, so those are the first 5. Oh, I forgot the 5th one. That was number 4. So number 5, give your reader some breathing room. Break down those big chunks of text, those big blocks, into subheads, bullet points, quotes. You can even embed, if you're working in WordPress or other similar platforms, you can even embed images and captions from Twitter and Instagram into your blog post, which is really cool. And then imagery, just stock photography that you've pulled, that you've maybe added a watermark to, or that obviously relate to your topic, is really good too. So those are the first 5. That stock photography imagery part kind of rolls into the next tip. So tip number 6 is respect the big C. That is copyright. And I am a fanatic over copyright because at one point I studied copyright and some of the laws and stipulations involved in work, intellectual property, and once you produce work, that it's copyrighted. So whether or not people register with the Copyright Office or don't. So what you need to know is it's not okay to go to Google and just pull any image that you find, because someone has produced that image somehow, and the copyright belongs to them automatically and by law. So you can get in a lot of trouble for using other people's images. So what you really want to do is create your own images, is kind of the easy no-brainer rule of thumb. But also you can use some really great stock photography sites. I really like graphicstock.com. It's a very economical resource for small business owners, and it's got great photography there. And then also another one that I found that's not as extensive, but really high quality, kind of different type of images that are not your typical or your standard stock photos that look really kind of generic or just not very authentic, and that's Death to Stock. So it's Death to Stock Photography is the company, and deathtostock.com is the website where you can subscribe and download their images. It's really also very economical and beautiful, high quality images, and you can get them unlimited. So so definitely use your own images or stock photo images, or you can also pull stock photos and create collages. So one of the tools that I use is Canva. A lot of people have been talking about it. It's kind of like a buzzy resource that's emerged in the last, I don't know, I found out about it maybe 6 to 9 months ago. So Canva is canva.com, and it's a wonderful resource to create beautiful Facebook banners, Twitter banners, social media posts, Instagram posts, whatever you might want to create. You can use images, create collages, and do text overlays that are really come out just astonishingly beautiful. And you don't have to be a graphic designer, which is awesome. But if you are a graphic designer, then of course you have, you're able to create your own images, usually using professional tools like Photoshop and the Adobe Creative Suite. Definitely want to give props to my graphic designers, because what you do is phenomenal work. And so that's another option for small business owners and medium-sized businesses that want to work with a graphic designer. Sometimes that's a really good option too, because you get the same aesthetic every time, and your images are not all over the place. A graphic designer can help you brand those images. So I don't want to minimize that. Rule number 7, or tip number 7, choose a focus keyword or keyword phrase. So this is super important. You've heard of keywords. Obviously, hashtags are groups of keywords that group ideas and trends together using the hash symbol. And so keywords, there are short and long tail keywords. So a short tail keyword is something like fashion, right? A long tail keyword is something more specific and usually a phrase. So an example of that would be, I have an example that I wrote down, boho fashion dresses. So you see how that's much more specific, and that's considered a long tail keyword. So with long tail keywords, so it's kind of a push and pull here. So short tail keywords can be great, but there's very high competition depending on what your industry is for certain types of words, right? So certain companies will rank very high for short tail keywords because they pay a lot of money to do that, and through SEO are able to rank for these keywords. So so fashion, it's a high traffic keyword, but it can be a downfall because it's not very specific. So sometimes in the end, especially for small and medium-sized businesses, independent contractors, freelancers, it's really good to get in the habit of using long tail keywords, because ultimately the quality is higher, the search is more specific, and even though they get less traffic, let's say, the conversion rate is typically much higher, because people, once they find you using those search terms or a combination of those search terms, they're more likely to buy from you because they're looking for that specific thing. So that's a little bit about keywords. Now, what you want to do, this is super important in a blog post, is you want to use that keyword or keyword phrase in the intro, right? In the first 100 words, maybe 1 or 2 times. And then after that, you should use that keyword or keyword phrase really every 100 words or so. If you can do it a little bit more than that, great. You don't want to oversaturate your posts with the same keywords over and over, but it will help your SEO ranking when people are looking for that combination or specific keywords. It will help you if you have those peppered all the way throughout your blog post, all the way to the end. And then again, 1 or 2 times in the conclusion, really just 1 time in the conclusion or the outro is sufficient for your keyword. And you really want to keep that same word peppered all the way throughout the blog. So you don't necessarily need to say the exact keyword in the title. The title can be a little different and include some key terminology, but excuse me, you don't have to have the exact, like the boho fashion dresses doesn't have to be in the actual title in that order, but it can, the title can talk about that. And then in your actual post, you want to keep saying boho fashion dresses and find ways, and it's hard to do. It's easier said than done, to find creative ways to use that string of keywords together. It can be tricky. I'm a professional, so I've done it for many years, and for me, it comes very naturally, but I know for a lot of people that are just starting out in writing, or they just don't know this information, it can be really kind of a little bit of a painful process to get into the habit of using keywords in this way, in this really specific way. So if you need help with that for your blog, let me know, and I can definitely consult with you on keywords, and I can even show you some examples. If you go straight to my website and click on portfolio, you'll see plenty of examples where you'll notice the keywords peppered throughout the blog post, and you'll be able to identify what those are. So that's for searchability and SEO optimization. My website's jessicajoyrevelis.com, and you can just click on portfolio to find those examples. Number 9, vary your content. So you want diversity. You don't want the same post, the same topic every week, every month, month in and month out, day in and day out. So look for ways to do this creatively. It could be by theme or season. Another thing you can do super easily is maybe for every 300 word blog post that you write a 650 word blog post, and you kind of vary it back and forth so your readers don't get tired of the content. And number 10, somewhere I missed, here we go. I missed one of my tips is about length. So speaking of word count, this is what I talked about earlier, and I didn't connect it. Keep the blogs between either on the shorter end 250 to 300 words. In the middle is about 650 to 700 or 750 words, and then at the most 1,000 words. Anything over 1,000, it's way too much, not necessary, and people are just not going to read it. So anyway, I tend to, when I work with clients, that sweet spot is somewhere between like 400 and 650. Most of the blogs that do really well for my clients are in that 650 to 700 range. So let me know if length is an issue for you too, and we can talk about some more strategies on how to keep the content trim enough or make it long enough. Sometimes you feel like, I have this topic and I thought I had something to say, and then you start writing and you don't really have a ton to say. And then the number 10 tip is build up a catalog of blogs so that you have plenty of content and you can interweave them in your blog site, in your website, so that when you're talking about maybe you're transitioning from one season to the next, and you're going from let's say spring to fall, you can harken back to things from the spring, like and talk about things that mention things that you posted in the past or even within that month, and link back internally, create internal links to content that you posted prior to the blog that you're writing now, and that keeps people in your site, on your blog, and it connects the pages kind of like a web. And so you've got your current blog post might have 2 or 3 links to previous posts, and then it keeps people in your site and keeps them engaged and reading more and wanting to hear more from you. So that's it. That's a lot of information. I hope it was really helpful. Thank you to Dorothy Inez Del Tufo for this wonderful opportunity to offer a mini masterclass on how to write a blog post that sings and sells. I will see you back in just a moment, and I look forward to connecting with you. Again, you can reach me at jessicajoyrevelis.com, and find me on social media. My email and my phone number are all there, and you can even chat with me online. Thanks so much. I'll be back.